How's it going, everybody, and welcome to Just Nobody's Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan.
And I'm your host, Daniel.
And today we're doing a podcast.
Woo!
If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button, the one with the thumb going up. If you hit it, there's fireworks. It'll make some excitement in your life. You'll be happy. It'll bring joy. It'll bring love. It'll bring good vibes, right?
Right.
So make sure you do it. Also, comment what you want us to talk about next week. As you're going to see throughout this video, we took your guys' suggestions from last week, and we're talking about it this week. So let's get into it.
Okay, so starting off, have you heard of the Tylenol murders?
Like the medicine Tylenol?
Yeah, so we've all taken Tylenol, and this is probably one of the craziest unsolved mysteries ever. And it took place in Chicago, where a man named Adam Janus had a really bad headache. So he opened a new bottle of Tylenol, and he took 2 capsules. But just minutes later, he collapsed, and he was rushed to the hospital, where he actually ended up dying.
What the heck?
So when his family came back home, they were super stressed about what just happened, and they were super confused. And Adam's little brother Stanley was so upset about just losing his brother, and he had a really bad headache now. So Stanley and his wife both took 2 Tylenols from the same bottle that Adam did, and they ended up collapsing, rushed to the hospital, and died, just like Adam.
So 3 people from the same family all died that night?
Yeah, and after this, 4 other victims were found dead from taking Tylenol. So investigators decided to investigate all the cases, and they decided they have to smell the Tylenol bottles. So they smelled all the Tylenol bottles of the dead victims, and they found that they smelled like almonds, which is the same exact smell as cyanide poisoning. And they actually found that in all the bodies of the victims, there was 1,000 times more the lethal dose of cyanide in them.
So someone must have poisoned these pills.
Right, and everyone was freaking out. Like, Tylenol was pulled off of all the shelves all over the nation, and there's many suspects on who actually poisoned the pills, but it's still unsolved to this day. But when you buy medication now, this is actually the reason why there's that little seal that you have to peel off before you open it. So if you see that peel taken off after you buy it, don't use them.
That's so scary to think about. It was an over-the-counter medicine.
Right, and at the time, it was the #1 pain-killing drug, so everybody was using it.
I mean, even today, though, it's still like one of the top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Benadryl, Tylenol, and Aleve, and Advil.
Right.
Those like the 4 ones right there.
And Johnson & Johnson, the makers of it, right? They were like panicking. They took all the Tylenol off the shelves, and they actually found a bottle with cyanide still in it that was unboxed. Someone got lucky, and they didn't buy them.
Wow. That's so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad that when you said to, like, the brother dies, and then the brother gets stressed out from the brother dying, so then he takes the Tylenol
And his wife
and
took
his
it.
wife, and it kills them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And what's crazy too, cyanide, it only takes 25 minutes for the cyanide to eat through the pill. So you could tell if something's wrong with the pills. So that means they bought it within the 25 minutes of someone poisoning them.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So they buy this stuff. Someone messed with it within the 25 minutes before they bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's so sad.
And they couldn't find out who it was.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
That is just unbelievable. What are the odds of that?
Right?
What else do you have to talk about? Because this is just way too dark. I hope you go we'll start dark, and then we'll work our way up to the light, okay?
Okay, so did you know that your name could actually predict how your life is going to turn out?
How is that possible?
Okay, so researchers found that your name could actually affect your personality and the job you have in the future. And there was a man named Robert Lane who believed his children's names would influence how their future would turn out. So what he did was he named one of his sons Winner to give him a better chance at succeeding in life. And to test this, he named his next son Loser. But this is where it gets really crazy.
Dude, that's really sad. He's literally setting up his son Loser to fail.
Just wait. So both kids lived in the same house and had the same living conditions. But one kid went to a prestigious high school, a prestigious college, graduated with a degree, and played college football. And he went on to work as a police officer, got promoted to a sergeant, and made a lot of money in his life.
So what happened to the other kid?
So at the other child, starting at the age of 19, committed his first crime and got arrested. And after being released, he actually committed more than 30 more crimes and countless arrests, and now is homeless in New York.
Dude, what kind of experiment is this?
Yeah, but get this. The successful police officer actually was Loser Lane, and the homeless guy was Winner Lane.
Are you serious?
Yeah, think about this. The most successful people in the world always say you have to be a loser first in order to be a winner. And this is exactly what happened.
That makes a lot of sense, I guess.
Right?
The loser always had to feel like he had to prove himself.
Right.
Whereas the winner was always known as like, I'm the winner, I'm the best.
Exactly.
And he never had any conflict. So he just was always okay.
Yeah, he always saw himself as a winner. So he thought everything he did was successful.
Right, where the loser had to always persevere.
Exactly.
Wow, that's interesting.
Right. right?
Good for loser.
Good for loser.
He's a winner.
Okay, I know that was a crazy story, but I think you're gonna really like this next story.
You're setting the bar high.
So have you ever heard of the world's greatest liar to ever live?
Wait, so they found the world's greatest liar.
Yeah, so this guy's name was Ferdinand Damara, and he was literally the greatest liar ever, and everybody believed him. So what he did was, since he was young, he needed money. So he created a fake name for himself and a fake education degree, and he told everyone that he was the greatest surgeon around. And he actually ended up getting a job with the Navy, and they hired him as a surgeon.
So this guy has no medical history, but he's a surgeon.
Yeah, and he thought he wouldn't have to perform any surgeries in the Navy, but then the Korean War happened and he was forced to perform surgeries on injured soldiers. But what everyone didn't know is that Ferdinand actually had a photographic memory. So he looked over a bunch of medical books and surgery books before the surgeries, and miraculously, somehow, he got through all 16 surgeries successfully.
There's no way that this guy could pull that off.
Yeah, and that's not even it. After being a surgeon, this guy was able to fake his way into more than 10 different jobs. Like, he was able to lie about being a lawyer, an engineer, a teacher, all these different types of things without being caught. And all he needed was his photographic memory.
Gosh, it's unfair to have a photographic memory.
But this guy has to be the world's greatest liar.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
What's really bizarre is that he had the confidence to say that he's a surgeon.
But that's just how much he wanted money.
I know, but like he pulled it off.
Yeah.
Good for him.
16 surgeries. 16. And he just looked over some books.
That's crazy.
And he was able to do them.
I don't know what it's like to have photographic memory. And it's just such a hard concept to wrap my head around, how people are able to do that.
Yeah.
They can remember every single thing they see.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Right.
That's just incredible.
I don't know how you're born with that, but that is just crazy.
Yeah, that is ridiculous. I don't understand it. So for everyone who missed it on TikTok, this week I talked about this crazy news story that's going around, that they actually found a way for people to live 1,000 years.
Oh, yeah.
I still can't believe this is a thing, but basically what they found was scientists discovered that there's a pill that they can actually make that will make people feel like they're living 1,000 years, but they'll feel like they're living 1,000 years, and it's actually only 8.5 hours. Subconsciously, they're living 1,000 years, but physically, they've only been living for 8.5 hours.
Which is crazy.
This whole thing came about because they realized there needs to be a more humane way to have jail sentences and death row, right? So they thought we could make a mental drug that will convince someone's brain that they're stuck living 1,000 years in a span of 8.5 hours. It allows people to serve lifelong sentences. And hopefully the goal behind that, right, is within the 1,000 years of this person living, that they can rehabilitate, become better people, understand their mistakes, and be better for society. And instead of being killed or being in jail for the rest of their life, they can have that awareness and realization in a span of 8.5 hours.
And when you think about it, okay, living 1,000 years, that's almost like a form of torture.
I wonder if subconsciously they see the days go by still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they really live out 1,000 years.
Right. I wonder if it's like some sort of like just time loop in their head.
Yeah.
That just keeps replaying.
I guess the whole reason behind this was to help the prisoners learn from their mistakes and be better people.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is that they have to have control of their subconscious brain to learn, right? And to learn from their mistakes and be better. It's going to be interesting how they use this technology.
Right.
And it's scary. It's scary that, who knows? What happens if you accidentally take the medication and you're stuck for 1,000 years?
Yeah.
That's going to suck.
Oh, yeah.
I can see the YouTube videos now. YouTubers saying, I lived for 1,000 years and took the pill.
But I wonder how much knowledge you can gain. Like, are you actually learning something throughout those 1,000 years? Like, you know what I mean?
No, I think you are learning. Hear me out. The reason why they even have jail in the first place is you're trying to take a person out of society and make them better, right? You're technically trying to teach them to be better and learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
If they're going to use that for the replacement of prison, they have to have them have the ability to learn.
That's true.
So speaking of living longer, did you know the sports you play can actually predict how long you're going to live?
The sports you play?
Yeah, so recently scientists discovered that the sports you play have a huge connection in how long you're going to live. So the study found that certain sports make people live longer.
Football players must not live the longest.
Yeah, they're not on the list. So in 5th place, extending someone's life 3.4 years is actually swimming. And in 4th place, they found biking and cycling actually extending people's lives 3.8 years. And in 3rd place, they found that soccer actually increases someone's life 4.7 years.
I don't do any of those sports.
Yeah, same. We're kind of screwed. So in 2nd place is badminton. And they found that if you play badminton, your life is extended by 6.2 years. And in 1st place, the sport that makes you live the longest is actually tennis. In any kind of racket sport, so like pickleball, table tennis, anything with a racket, you actually live 9.7 years longer. So it extends your life 9.7 years.
So tennis makes you live 10 years longer.
Yeah, on average, they found that tennis actually makes you live longer. 10 years almost.
Why are we not playing tennis?
Hey, pickleball counts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, isn't that crazy though?
Just by holding the dang racket?
Well, they said that there's 3 factors that go into tennis.
Okay.
You have the social aspect because you can't play tennis by yourself.
Uh-huh.
The second aspect is, you got to be able to move. You have to have mobility, right?
Yeah.
And the third aspect is being able to think sharp, right? Mentally.
Right.
It's a mental strategy, right? There's 3 factors of socializing, being mentally sharp, and staying physical. That those 3 factors are huge in like extending someone's life.
Interesting.
So if you have those things through tennis or pickleball or table tennis, you'll extend your life.
All those other sports, we don't play.
Yeah, unfortunately not. We're kind of screwed. So everyone out there, make sure you play some tennis, pickleball or table tennis,
Yeah.
Get out on those courts, whack them balls over the nets.
I mean, 10 years is a lot.
Yeah. This is actually extends their life. These like 10 years extends it.
Yeah.
It basically saying, look, you want to live 10 years longer? Play tennis. Okay, so moving on. There's a crazy story that I have to tell you. It's a long story, but it's a really good story.
Okay.
This story is it really will make you question your life.
Oh, gosh.
And humanity.
One of these?
I want to hear people's responses on this. I want to see like what people see in this and like how they interpret this story.
I'm always down for a good story.
Do you know about the couple who was asked to stay in a room for 50 days and if they could do it, they would get $5 million?
Was the room at least nice?
So it was a really basic room. And then basically the couple has to stay in this room for 50 days. And if one of them leave, the prize goes down from 5 million to 1 million. So the couple has no outside connections. All they have is each other. There's no entertainment. There's really nothing to do at all. So the couple's names is Mike and Kate. And when they get into the room for the first time, they look around and they think the room is beautiful. The room is completely covered in white and all they have is a bed, a bench, and like a bathroom. And that is it. And Mike and Kate have been through a lot and they've been through a lot of struggles. So they finally thought this is their opportunity to finally be comfortable and live a good life.
What are they going to do with the money when they win?
So Mike wants to use the money to basically party and have a good time and live the life he never lived before. Whereas Kate is very different. She wants to save the money and be smart with it. So in the room, the bathroom has a rule where only one person can go in the bathroom at a time.
That's kind of weird because they're a couple.
Yeah. So on the wall, there's also this red button. And if they press the red button, that allows the doors to open and that means they want to leave. There's also a touchscreen on the wall where it allows them to buy treats. And at the very top of the wall, there's this countdown clock that's counting down the days, like the 50 days. And every day they're given this nutritious food, but it's in a white bottle with no taste, but it has all the nutrients they need. It literally just says food on it.
Okay, this room sounds like it sucks.
So every day the lights change from like morning to show afternoon to show night. So after the first night, they wake up to take a shower and they change their clothes and they're just given a new pair of pajamas. And as time goes by, they realize it's hard to keep each other entertained. So Kate starts to do yoga and Mike just stands around looking at the clock, counting down the 50 days. And then Kate keeps trying to tell Mike, like, stop looking at the clock. It's going to make it really hard for you. And Mike's like, no, I have to look. Like, he can't do it. So at night, Mike has a hard time sleeping. All he does is stays up and starts thinking about things. So the next morning, Kate tries to help lift Mike's spirits. So she's like trying to play games with him, dances with him, plays like patty cake with him. So Mike starts to get better. He starts to try to exercise when Kate's doing yoga. So then a couple weeks go by and they realize something different happens. And all of a sudden, Mike finds a little bug on the ground.
How does a bug change things?
So what Mike does is he grabs his food, right, the tasteless food, and he starts pouring it on the ground to help the bug, trying to feed it. But then all of a sudden, the AI security yells at Mike and says, hey, you cannot do that. You cannot put your food on the ground. It's against the rules. So Mike asks the AI, like, can we please help this bug? This bug is suffering. Let's let him free. So the AI is not responding to Mike. So Mike wants to hit the red button to open up the doors to let the bug go. But Kate is scared if he touches the red button, she thinks that they're going to lose. So Kate and Mike start arguing and Mike's accusing Kate of not having a heart and not wanting to help this bug. And Kate gets really mad at Mike. So she walks away. But in the process of walking away, she accidentally steps on the bug and kills it. So Mike gets really depressed and it makes him really upset. So he decides to use $100,000 of their money to buy a treat for himself. And the treat that was given to him was a green crayon. And this makes Mike so happy because he was an artist before he entered the room. So he's able to draw on the walls and he's like really happy to be creative again. So Kate watches Mike draw and she realizes that she was wrong and she was being heartless. So she sits with Mike and watches him draw. So the next day, Kate wakes up and goes into the bathroom and she sees a gun sitting on the sink counter.
How would a gun randomly appear there?
Yeah, so after staying in the room for 30 days without leaving, they find the gun on the sink and they have no idea who put it there.
How would the gun get there?
Yeah, it's really strange. So Mike and Kate grab the gun and they hide it underneath the bed. So a couple hours go by and since they were able to last in the room for 30 days, they were given video messages from their loved ones. So these videos were pre-recorded videos from their family members, basically giving them videos of encouragement. But then all of a sudden, Kate's dad gets on the screen and she just starts to get really depressed and doesn't want to hear what he has to say because she doesn't like her dad. So she runs away and tries to hide from the video. So after this, Kate gets really depressed and doesn't want to do anything, just sleeps in her bed all day. So Mike tries to help Kate, but through this process, he ends up getting really depressed. And when Kate sees him depressed, she wakes up and realizes that she better help him. So Kate tells Mike, you should get a treat, get the last treat, pay $250,000 and get the treat. So Mike does it. Then all of a sudden the doors open up and this lady walks in.
The lady's the treat?
Yeah, so Mike and Kate are super confused. Like, why is this lady here? And Kate doesn't like this girl. She cannot stand that the girl's here. Her name is Simone. And Simone really likes Mike's art on the walls. And this makes Kate super jealous.
Okay, how much time is left before they win?
At this point, I think they have like 2 weeks left until they win. So Kate is over it. So she uses some more money to buy a treat for herself. So the treat that was given to her is like this candy. So she offers it to Mike and Simone. And after Mike eats it, he starts going crazy.
What the heck?
So Kate is really worried that Simone's going to take Mike away from her. So Kate and Simone start fighting. So they all go to sleep that night. And then the next morning when Kate wakes up, she looks around and she can't find Simone anywhere. But then she realizes on the wall, there's a message written down on it. And basically it says that she hooked up with Mike the night before. And Mike said he never did anything like that. And it's just like how the gun magically appeared. Someone's trying to mess with them. So Kate doesn't believe Mike at all and pushes him against the wall and he hits his head. And Mike starts to feel dizzy and doesn't feel well. And he feels he needs to get a doctor. But Kate is like, no, we can't leave. We can't get a doctor for you. She's worried about losing the money.
You can really see how the money's starting to get to her.
Yeah, so Mike is disgusted that Kate's even acting this way. So he gets up, pushes the red button and is about to leave. And Kate starts threatening him and telling him he cannot leave, but Mike ends up leaving. Keep in mind, they just had 2 days left until they were going to win the $5 million.
So what does Kate end up doing?
So Kate starts going crazy. And all of a sudden, you see her approach the red button. But then all of a sudden, the story jumps 4 months later. And you see Mike running down the street. And he runs into Kate. And he asks Kate, like, hey, I haven't seen you in forever. Like, did you end up winning the game? And Kate avoids answering the question. But what you see in the distance is that she ends up helping buy like a homeless shelter. So she ends up winning. But the story ends with a new couple entering the room. And they're going to be the new people trying to win the $5 million.
This is a really intense story. You could really see how money could really mess some people up.
Yeah, it's really sad, but it just shows like the humanity of when there's money involved, right? Some people turn into people that they don't want to be. Well, guys, we try to keep this episode a little bit shorter this week. So please hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button. Thumbs up, positivity, love, affection,
Fireworks.
fireworks. Boom, 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 boom. So make sure you comment what you want us to talk about next week. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on TikTok. And we'll see you guys next Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
See you on the Tiki Talk.
God bless you guys. See ya.
Love ya.